Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Wednesday. It's 4 p.m. You know what that means? It's powered for SP3. And there he is. The man is in the house. How are you doing this week, my friend?
I am doing well. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. SP3 is on your screens on YouTube. Starting off the day with my good brother here, John Scott. We are going to talk about the entire wrestling world. We're going to talk about your comments, answer any questions. Always a fun time on Powered for SP3. I feel like I'm already feeling the red carpet from the UK for over here in New York.
He's becoming more popular by the week, it seems. Maybe by the day. He made an appearance on TalkSport, national radio, which I've been listening to for many years, with the likes of Alex McCarthy and Will Gavin. So he's getting out there now. You might even be SP3 more popular in the UK than you are in your home of New York, quite frankly.
That's probably true.
That is up for debate, but I reckon you're getting close to that. Maybe you'll have to immigrate to the UK. Maybe you're gonna have to find yourself a spot here. I know, in the middle of London, and that's it. We'll the Palace. Just turn up at Buckingham Palace.
That sounds like a plan. A plan to me. I would love that. I've actually been to Buckingham Palace before when I visited the UK with my significant other. So, hey, there always is a chance. If you guys keep showing the love, I might have to make that decision.
There you go. Always put him on the spot now. Guys, thank you for all the pre-comments, as I call them every week now, because they come in early, because I post the show up like a couple of days ago, always in advance, because I always forget these things otherwise, and it kind of means that people could put up questions. So it's become a running thing. I'm going to get to those comments and questions. Don't worry, everybody. I will get to them during the show. We've got lots of good stuff coming up. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us. As I said last week, we are trying to get the number to like another 100, and we hit 2K. I think we've got about 80 to go, so we've made like 20 in a week, which is good. But I want to get that done. I want to get to 2K, and who knows, maybe I'll come up with something crazy, like another box like structure moment, but better, much better than that. But SP3, I want to start the week's proceedings off with, of course, some news from the world of professional wrestling. And we're going to start with this one. NXT releases, including Velveteen Dream. This coming out very recently, obviously, and even now we've had WWE guys go as well. So what can you tell us about this? And I've got to say, SP3, was you overly surprised with Velveteen Dream?
Yes, because they waited this long. Like, if this would have happened in 2020, it would have made more sense with all the controversy surrounding him. And I'm not just talking about the speaking out allegations where a lot of fans will say he's innocent until proven guilty. What we do know is that he had an arrest warrant for himself in April of 2020 because of a car incident where he punched in a car window that caused him to have a hand injury that was very obvious when he was on NXT television. There was also a lot of behavioral issues and backstage issues. One of the artists that have worked with WWE, Rob Schamberg, actually has come out and called Velveteen Dream the most unprofessional person he's ever had to work with. So that's a damning indictment against you as well. And then on top of that, you have all these speaking out allegations where, there's one thing where, someone like Will Ospreay, he got the allegations that he blackballed another wrestler and he supported a abuser over the victim of it in a situation because the abuser was his friend. That is one thing to what Velveteen Dream was accused of grooming minors, not only underage girls, but underage males. And, he has since then put out a public statement, basically claiming his innocence, talking about how he did talk to the two accusers and, pretty much damning the two accusers for them deleting their social media and all types of other things, where it felt like more of gaslighting the victims more than proving his innocence, which I am all for. Anyone should be innocent until proven guilty. But the way he came about it just was a little bit so, and saying that he had to play up his character, and that's why he didn't come out and prove his innocence beforehand. And it was very strange, his approach to it. So I'm surprised at the timing that it took this long for him to be released. But no, I'm not surprised that he was released. The other talents that were released were Alexander Wolf, Vanessa Bourne, EJ Nudaka. And then of course you have Jake Wirtz, who is one that I definitely wasn't surprised got released, because he was the same individual that said the mass mandates were helping child traffickers abduct children.
Was that a referee or something? Was he
Yes.
ref or?
Yes, he was like the lead referee. We called him on True Heel Heat. He looked like Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore. So we've made that comparison to him. So not surprised at all that he was gone. But everything else, a lot of the names on this list, especially like Alexander Wolf, who was just on NXT last week, kind of came as a surprise. I wish them all the best of luck on their future endeavors. But WWE didn't even stop there. They went even further this week with releasing Adnan Virk, who was the lead Raw announcer ever since WrestleMania 37 on Monday Night Raw. He only made 6 episodes, John. 6 episodes of Monday Night Raw before they came to a mutual agreement to let him go.
I wonder what the pay was.
That has to be some type of record. Like, he was not prepared for this position. He was a sportscaster, and he was good in that role, and then kind of got thrusted into like the most public commentary role that he could have. He didn't train in the PC for a while and then become on Monday Night Raw. No, he went right into the fire, and he got burned. He got burned by fans, by critics, by analysts. Like, everyone was damning his work on Monday Night Raw. I mean, he seems like a good enough guy that I was willing to give him a chance and give him a longer time to get comfortable, but it just didn't work out, and that's why WWE and Adnan Virk came to a mutual decision. But that was like the only public firing that we know of. But there's been more, like staffers been released. According to PW Insider, there have been cuts in the AMG division, which is the Advanced Media Group and Digital divisions. And basically, it's described as coming out of nowhere, in part because the division had grown heavily in both importance and revenue for WWE during the pandemic. PW Insider notes that there was a brief call held with Human Resources at the end of yesterday, which basically consisted of informing everyone remaining that they will now report to Kevin Dunn in the TV department. There was also a coping mechanism joke going around among some of the releases that they should, because they had just been told last week to refer people into the company for that division. So basically, they've been making the joke that they should just revert themselves because they got their release papers less than a week after being informed in that. But there's like a massive amounts of cuts and layoffs. PW Insider also reported that Jay Rosenstock, who was WWE's EVP of International, was let go and released. There was like major releases for the international office staffers, and basically it's really given more power to the new WWE president, Nick Khan, who's become probably the most powerful guy not named Vince McMahon or Triple H in WWE, who will now be personally overseeing the international offices in order to more closely align with WWE headquarters. In addition to that, Adam Kirshner, who had been the manager for media and metadata operations for over the last, I believe, 15 years, and served as a producer for the digital team as they built up the company's YouTube channel to become one of the biggest YouTube channels on the platform, has now announced his exit. PW Insider reports that Kirshner oversaw the back end of WWE's digital video manager system and was heavily involved in the relaunched WWE Network before it moved over to the Peacock Network. A lot of WWE talent actually have come out and said their support to a lot of the people let go. I know Xavier Woods in particular talking about the releases to the digital team, talking about the head of that company, giving him the opportunity to create Up Up Down Down, which is one of the most successful like gaming YouTube channels around, and allowed him the opportunity on like the second screen to develop his talking ability and develop chemistry with Kofi Kingston and Big E. Like the success of New Day is really contributed to that digital team and the second screen experience. So it's a big cut. It's one that they didn't really publicize. You know, shouts out to PW Insider and Deadspin, who really were providing a lot of details on these cuts. But it's very major. And, you know, the WWE releases from a couple of weeks ago with Samoa Joe, Mickey James, Iconics was one thing. It was 1 year after the major cuts during the beginning of the pandemic. Then we have these WWE NXT releases where a lot of them were understandable, some not so much, like Alexander Wolf or Vanessa Bourne or EJ Nugoko, because when you look at the guy, that guy looks like he's ready-made to be on the WWE roster scene, and he's only been with the company for 20 months. But these layoffs for, you know, the staffers may be just as, you know, important as the ones for the on-screen talent, and really should affect the WWE moving forward.
Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of people there, SP3, you know, very soon after the loss, a lot, you know, I gotta say, I feel bad for that announcer. I really do. We spoke about him probably 5 weeks ago when he first showed up, and we were like, poor guy has just been thrown in. Why have they not got him like at NXT to begin with? Or why is he not doing like some of the, you know, some of the main event shows to start with and all the rest of it? So I don't know, like what on earth did they expect, really? I mean, anybody who hasn't had prior pro wrestling experience, you know what I mean? Like, just dump him in there, he'll automatically learn. And you know what it's like, you got guys probably in his ear hole trying to tell him every which way not to talk about moves, and it's gotta be difficult. But I hope he got a good settlement. I hope they mutually agreed to his benefit, because I don't know what his contract was, but it was obviously more than bloody 5 weeks. So crikey. Anyway, let's get into some of the comments. We had quite a lot coming through here. Thank you everybody who comments on the show. Always fantastic. We've got Mark Lloyd, who loves to mince it up here on the show. How you doing, Mark? I'm a KO fan from way back in Ring of Honor. NXT did a great job of getting him over. Him facing Cena as the NXT champ was smart, but now he's turned into just straight up crap in terms of how he acts false. There you go. I'll leave this one to you, SP3. Do you were you a Kevin Steen fan before he came onto the WWE system?
Yeah, I'm a throwback Ring of Honor fan. Like Ring of Honor, I told the story a lot on True Hill Heat and other things. Like Ring of Honor, TNA were the reason that kept me into wrestling during like the high school years, where WWE wasn't really good and wasn't really the popular thing to like. You kind of, you know, the independents had that gritty, that underground feel, and Kevin Steen was one of my all-time favorites. Him and El Generico, one of my all-time favorite independent tag teams. Their feud was iconic, and I felt like it was always better in Ring of Honor than it was when he got to NXT, even though that was really great. I love his NXT run, and I agree with you. You know, him against Cena was great, but I definitely don't agree with you that he's turned into straight up crap. I think that he's still very talented. He had a great feud with Roman Reigns where he took 3 straight losses in big title matches to Roman, but he came out of that feud looking like one of the top baby faces in the entire company, and he cut really great promos. He did great work with Sami Zayn in the lead up to WrestleMania. Their match at WrestleMania got criminally like cut short, in my opinion. It got less than 10 minutes. I felt like if they got longer, it would be talked about as one of the best matches at WrestleMania 37. And he was just in a great main event to SmackDown this week. I mean, yeah, he probably needs a new story to sink his teeth into, but to say that he's straight up crap with the way he acts after he's just had a successful feud with Roman that not only got universally praised but got really good ratings, I think that's just a bad take. No offense, Mark. You're great, but that's a bad take.
Yeah, I agree. He's more on the rise than he is on the other side of the mountain again. He's going. I mean, I'll never forgive them for what they did with Goldberg that time. I felt like he deserved better than that, Kevin Owens. And yeah, when Kevin Owens first showed up and he was doing the NXT gig, like he was. I remember watching him at that takeover that you and I were at, and he was the guy. You know, I wanted to see more and more of him. He had a chip on his shoulder, and like I like the fact that they had him go in against John Cena, the way they introduced him, because it made it look like he was a big deal. And I think he'll get back there, but I just think it'll take a little bit more time again. But I think you're right about WrestleMania. That's probably due to bloody Logan Paul being involved, and we had to have the aftermath of that. Don't get me started there.
Oh man,
here's a great name. Oh, he is. He'll be on to me. Don't you worry. Honest beyond reasonable. I love this name. What do you both feel about Warrior overall, given the A&E doc we saw? Where does he stand up in terms of superstar level against today's wrestlers? Well, you know what? While we're here, SP3, it's plug-in time. It's cheap pop time, because I am plugging your A&E review that you did. Fantastic again. I said to you, I messaged you when you were live, because I had 2 screens. I had Warriors documentary, and I had you on the other screen, and I had the mute button. I was going backwards and forwards to see what I would listen to. I tell you what, for anybody that hasn't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. There's definitely things in there that they hadn't touched on before. Yeah. They certainly didn't touch on it in the Warrior DVD. But I think in terms of where does he stand up, look, I think we all know Warrior was a little bit of a not the pleasantest guy to be around outside of wrestling. Jim Hellwig. I think in terms of him as a wrestler, if you were just a casual fan, I think Ultimate Warrior will stand up, because he got over. I mean, he got at one point, you could probably argue, even if it was for a couple of months, he got to the level of Hogan. Even though it was the system behind him, he still did it. But I don't think he understood the business enough. I have to say, I was listening to Romeo at the end of your show. I didn't have that on quite live at the same time, but he mentioned he got kind of emotional at the end. I think I did as well. I mean, it was weird, because I've never thought of Warrior like that, because I don't know, I've just heard so much bad stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's not to excuse any of that stuff, but it did get me. I mean, they did a good job. The documentary people did a good job. I think it's probably the most emotional I felt about it. I think they did a terrible job on Randy Savage for that.
Oh, yeah.
If they'd had half of that into this one, it would have been better. But where do you stand, SP3? Ultimate Warrior, obviously, go and check out SP3's review. Don't tell us anything about that, SP3. I don't want to spoil that. But where do you lie with Warrior in terms of how does he hold up superstar level of today's wrestlers?
I think it's arguable that Warrior had probably the most successful 2 to 3 year run of any superstar in WWE history. Like, he was the second biggest babyface during a time where Hulk Hogan was the unquestionable number one, and he was the first guy that they kind of built up in when WWE became the number one promotion. Like, they went from kind of just a regional promotion, like they talked about in the documentary, being the New York promotion, to being the number one with WrestleMania. But guys like Hogan, guys like Macho Man Randy Savage, they developed their persona outside of the WWF, and Vince just grabbed them up and brought them on board. This was one guy that Vince could say he built from the ground up, and he was the first guy that Vince kind of built from the ground up to become the top babyface. So as terms of superstar level, I don't think there's a lot of guys that can stand up to that. If you want to also, besides checking out the A&E biography for the Ultimate Warrior, you check out True Hill Heat 126 with myself, Top Guy JJ, and Miss Christy Love. Go to the end of that podcast, and we give our WWE Mount Rushmore, where I give the 4 biggest stars that I think in WWE history. And I say those guys are probably the only ones that could say they were bigger stars and had longer runs than the Ultimate Warrior. But there ain't much other people outside of those 4 that I gave that are bigger stars than the Ultimate Warrior. And the stars of today really don't stack up. I mean, outside of Roman Reigns, when you look at the WWE spectrum, there's no superstars that will get to the level that Ultimate Warrior was. And even though he wasn't the best drawing WWF champion, his numbers in comparison to the champions of this era is he probably dwarfs them in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It'd be very difficult to have anybody in today's wrestling world bigger than him, just because also the industry's changed so much. Wrestling was a lot more accepted back then. It was everywhere. I mean, just the
Yeah.
merchandise alone was so different. But yeah, thank you for that question. Honest, don't forget Darkside are doing their version Friday, which is interesting as well. And I know you'll be back with another review SP3. So that'll be interesting to see the difference between the WWE A&E take. I've got a feeling they're going to hit on more of the things I probably know about and you do in that one. But we'll see. Maybe it won't. We'll see. We won't pass judgment. Here he is. We mentioned this guy, Brett Thomas. He's here. He's got a double message, so I better get to it. Do you think WWE will regret not using, of course, Logan Paul? You know, I should get Logan Paul trademarked, I swear. In the biggest spot, 2021, he's got the biggest draw in boxing fight. Now he said he wants to go into MMA. Bear in mind, he's a former NCAA Division 1. Yes, fair enough. And that follows up with, he's more legit than half the WWE roster in a shoot. CM Punk in gets smashed. If Logan beats Floyd, then wins his first UFC fight against someone like DC, I can't get to this, I tell you. Does he become WWE's biggest get? My goodness, there's a lot to get over in that one, Brett. Thank you very much. You have not failed to live up to your expectations of the biggest Logan Paul, Jake Paul fan I've ever known. SB3, I'll tell you what, I'll answer this quite frankly. If he manages to beat Floyd and in DC, I'll give you that. WWE probably he'll probably headline WrestleMania next year. You're probably right, but ain't no way that's happening. No way. SB3, I hope you believe me on that one. I hope you're gonna back me.
I mean, Brett is probably my wife's favorite commenter on anything that I do, whether it's Powered4SP3, whether it's True Hill. She just gets a kick out of how he can come up with ways.
I know that's the incredible thing, isn't it? It's like yeah, and what's even more ridiculous is we were mocking this when he wasn't even anything to do with WWE, and then 1 week before Mania, he's going. I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, what do you think he's? Are you gonna? You said you were gonna watch that fight, SB3 with Floyd. I've been looking at the odds, which is really ridiculous because he's got more of a favourable odd than Conor McGregor did. So that's worrying me a little bit. But is there any chance that Logan Paul's going to pull out a knockout victory? I know our friends over at Big Fight Weekly definitely think not.
Well, to be fair, Floyd before the Conor fight had not fought in a year? This is now 4 years later after that fight.
You think he might be a bit rusty?
He's a little bit rusty, so I understand him having more favorable odds than Conor because Logan and Jake Paul are very smart in the way they pick their fights, and I think he picked the perfect time to have this fight with Floyd Mayweather. I think he's going to win? No, because Floyd Mayweather is one of the smartest fighters of all time, and if he doesn't come in with a game plan to win, I'd be totally shocked. And even if Logan Paul is able to defeat Floyd Mayweather, I don't see him beating a former heavyweight champion inside the octagon in his first fight. CM Punk made me learn from that, where he versed a school teacher and he lost. I don't think Logan Paul is going to go into the octagon and beat Daniel Cormier.
No, yeah, maybe they'll do CM Punk versus Logan Paul. Maybe that's the one. The money's involved in. Yeah, it would draw. That's the crazy thing about it. And Brett Thomas, finally, I told Chris from Big Fight Weekly to show up. Okay, apparently we had Big Fight Weekly on yesterday, SB3, and a lot of people have been telling Chris and Stu to get over on our show. We'll see what we can do about that, everybody. How is it? I'm fine, Brett. I hope you're good as well. Rambo, he's always here. Hi, all. Thank you very much. Lewis Young. Hi, John and SP3. Thank you very much for tuning in. And the man himself, the champ, is here, apparently. Chris from Big Fight Weekly, really playing up his gimmick here, isn't he? He's getting the most of this. So he's taking a lot of our attention. We'll see what we can do about that. I'll take 2 more questions and then we're going to move on. Let's find one here. What we got? Mark Lloyd's got a question for USB3. Who is the best co-host? Alex Romeo. Why does this guy always? He likes to create a little bit of a. He likes to cause trouble. Who you got in there? You got Alex Romeo.
I will tell you the worst. The worst out of that is Top Guy JJ, because me and Top Guy JJ.
Oh, he was going to land on me then.
No, me and Top Guy JJ, we don't get along. Top Guy JJ has some very questionable takes that make me roll my eyes, and my eyes hurt after hearing some of his takes on True Hill Heat. Check out True Hill Heat 126, where he tries to explain why Roman Reigns versus Cesaro was a 5-star matchup, and I completely lost my mind because he thinks that every great match is a 5-star match, and he overrates all of them, even though he doesn't watch the television product and he doesn't see the build up to these things. He just sees the match and he's like, oh, that was perfect to me. That's perfect for a WWE match. So yes, Top Guy, I love him. He's like a brother to me, but he is the worst co-host that I have. He knows why I say that, and he knows he would say the same thing about me. I love all of those people in different ways. Alex kind of is like my mentor in wrestling media. John has given me so many great opportunities, and he got me an autographed Bret Hart shirt, so he is awesome.
Exactly, on its way.
With Chrissy
in
Love,
a box-like shape, in
a box-like
structure.
Chrissy Love is beautiful. She's spicy and she has hot takes, and I love her for it. And I love the fact that even if she doesn't know something in wrestling, she's willing to open her mind and watch it and see if she is able to like it. And Romeo is probably the second worst besides Top Guy, because he's another one of my rivals, but he's great at being like a point guard and running the show and going through everything. He takes excellent notes. I've actually had to use his notes when his Wi-Fi got abducted by North Korea during our Dark Side of the Ring collision in Korea review. And Drunk Guy JJ is drunk all the time, so it's always a great time when I'm able to co-host with him. Yes.
Yeah, lots of crazy requests coming in. We've got Albert Barlow, UK Chris, put them on. I tell you what, Chris, if you're out there, come on, I'll put you on. There seems to be like a demand. If Chris, I assume you're watching, so you can come on. Let's see what we can do. Everyone's calling out. I said I can come on for a bit. Let's give the fans what they want. Who we got? Elsa Kana, SP3. You attend MSG if WWE run this year. Would you go SP3 if they did MSG?
This year, probably.
I assume that's WWE. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not this year. I even said one of my Drunk Guy actually pitched one of us in one of our group chats for us to go to Las Vegas for SummerSlam, and I said I'd rather wait till the conditions are better next year and go to Las Vegas for Double or Nothing, which probably will be a better show than SummerSlam. So yeah, not this year, but definitely next year. If New Japan goes to MSG, I will definitely be there no matter what the year. But WWE, I'll wait till next year.
Yeah, no, I think you might be smart there, SP3. I think you might be smart. Okay, he's come on. I tell you, everybody, I said if he's around, he's coming on. So let's bring him on. I'll have to change he's changing everything here for me to do this. But I said if he comes on, we'll do it. Let's get him in. Let's add him to the stream. Here he is. Chris from Big Fight Weekly. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, yeah. I thought the fans want it, so let's give it to them, isn't it?
Well, that's what SP3's exactly. Vince McMahon, what's good for business. How are you, my friend? Mate, listen, while you're here, you're an MMA expert. We were just talking about Logan Paul and the chances of this boxing match. I know you and Stu ain't having. I know Stu definitely ain't having any of it. He's refused to watch it. I put the feelers out to see if Stu would do a watch along. No chance. So we're not going to get it. It might be you and me, Chris, doing that. But what are the chances of Logan Paul in UFC? And has he actually said that he wants to do this? Is this real?
Supposedly, it came up on MMA Nation. They're quite good journalists, so that I take what they say. But yeah, apparently, so he wants to do it once in his lifetime. I personally don't recommend it. Okay, it's okay to box a 45-year-old man, But if he's calling out people like Daniel Cormier, we're still, they're maybe in their 40s, but he's still in his prime per se. He's a double champ. He's a future Hall of Famer. If I'm Logan Paul, I wouldn't be going straight for the top elite MMA fighters. It's okay with a boxing. You're only getting punched. People like Daniel Cormier are going to throw him around like a little bit shot. No, to be honest with you, if I was him, and I said yesterday on the show, it makes sense if Bellator UFC picked him up. If he did okay against Floyd, because he has got that wrestling background, and we've seen like Brock Lesnar was in Division 1 and NCAA, wasn't he? Obviously different size, isn't it? But it could work, and it's dollar signs, like you said before. They give CM Punk a go, and he had absolutely no credible martial arts background, did he? No. I think he'd get killed in MMA personally.
Who would win, a CM Punk or Logan Paul? Who would your money be on?
I'd give it Logan Paul, hands down. You saw the two fights that CM Punk had, and I credit to him for getting in there. But it was just dreadful to watch. Awful.
Did you watch that fight SP3 with, what was it, Michael Jackson, Mike Jackson or something was his name?
Yes.
Polo punches on him. Did you watch that on SP3?
I watched the highlights of that fight, and it was embarrassing to watch. And CM Punk's face afterwards, that shut down any chances for him.
That's the thing. Being a wrestling fan, you kind of like, you want to support him. He's kind of like representing you in some way. Like, it's fine with Brock because Brock backed it up a bit, and I think he made the MMA fans like realize, oh, there is something to him. But like CM Punk, I was thinking, crikey. Like, the longer this goes on, the worse it's looking for WWE, because he was like a former champion not that long ago, and it just makes everything look a bit terrible, really unlegit. So I wouldn't personally want to see it. But you know what? I could see them, if CM Punk said, I want to face Logan Paul, I could see him doing it for the money, especially after that ridiculous boxing poster I sent to you. Both, in fact, about, what was it? Aaron Carter and Lamar with Chuck Liddell as a special
What is that? What is he meant to do in that? It's a boxing fight as well, and obviously Chuck Liddell's an MMA guy, so I'm not sure how he can referee a boxing. It's like me getting in the wrestling ring and being a ref. I can count to 3. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't know what to do. I'll get laughed at. You're not going to laugh at Chuck Liddell, mind you. I don't get it. Is he just there to, if it gets boring, like, with Austin at WrestleMania with Brock and Goldberg, and just starts just laying him in, just knocking him out along the ring because he's bored? I don't know. He must be skint, if anything.
Well, he must be. Okay, while you're here, Chris, SP3, you got any questions for Chris? Whilst we got him on, we can use him. He's an MMA guy. People have wanted, for some reason, there's a fascination to have SP3 and Chris on at the same time, as if one of you's may disappear or something on the screen. Both comings together, the wrestling guru and the MMA guru. Any questions from you, SP3? Whilst Chris is here, or anybody in the comments, put them in. You got a big reaction here from everyone. Albert Barlow, big fan. John, part of it. Yeah, I've heard about the show. You're on there as well, Chris, aren't you, this week?
Yeah, I'm there on Saturday about 8 o'clock at night, but it's obviously 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Chicago, where Albert's stationed. It's all right, it's just drink beer.
It's dedication.
Just drink beer and, it's me. I'm everywhere at the moment, aren't I?
That's what I mean.
We review films, what Albert does, and we chime in on stuff, and then we drink a few beers and just shoot the shit, really. We don't, it's nothing serious. It's just 3 lads getting together, as you would do at the bar.
Yeah, fair enough. Couple of questions, SP3, before we let Chris go. Is Nick Khan wanting to take over WWE?
He's making big moves. He's the guy responsible for the $1 billion deal with Fox with SmackDown. He's the one responsible for the $1 billion deal with Peacock. He took over for George Barrios and Michelle Wilson last year, and he's really just gained in power ever since then. So I think Nick Khan is already taking over WWE. I think along with Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Kevin Dunn, he's the most powerful man in WWE. He just actually purchase a mansion in California worth $7.6 million.
Going up.
So
Bloody hell, is that all?
He's making that money. He's making that moolah right now.
Does he fancy borrowing any?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't mind a mansion, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say we could all have a little wing. I'm sure on it. On that one. Just before you go, we've got a quick comment just coming. Brett Thomas, Chris, do you watch WWE or AEW? Do you know what? I've never asked you this, Chris. Do you actually watch wrestling now? Probably because of Stu, I'm guessing. But do you watch it?
I grew up on it. You know what I mean? I think, you know, the last time I watched it, you know, to a religious point was about 2005. But at that point, I obviously found MMA, so I sort of naturally moved away. I keep an eye. I mean,
that's when UFC. That's when UFC sort of took off, isn't it? Around then,
yeah,
like that 2005 time, isn't it?
It's when we sort of getting it over here on Bravo. So you know, I think I call Chuck Liddell and Ortiz was the first fight I saw. You know, and what an iconic fight to sort of start your UFC sort of love affair with. Yeah, I know. I was, you know, I was hardcore like Stuart of wrestling. You know, I loved the Attitude Era. Before that, in the early '90s, Hogan, Warrior, Randy Savage, Jake the Snake. I was in around and I loved it. I mean, I had a shred load of figures, and my dog chewed most of the heads off as well, which was a bit weird when you were a kid trying to sort of play them.
They would have been worth a fortune. If you got any around, I tell you. And Brett Thomas, also, you're one of the biggest fans of this show, I have to say. Is it hard to watch wrestling being an MMA fan?
No, not at all. You don't take it as, you know, MMA is a serious sport. You know what I mean? Where, you know, wrestling isn't a serious sport per se. You take it as lighthearted, and I enjoy the acting, the comical storylines we've had. Maybe not as good as it was back in the Attitude Era, where it was a bit like all over the place, but it was in your face, wasn't it? No, I enjoy it. I still watch stuff back on YouTube. I still love watching the Royal Rumbles. I love the surprises still. I mean, I'm still sort of in around the circles, but I'm not into it as much as, say, you guys and Stewie and everyone else is now.
No, that's such a typical casual fans answer. The Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, those are the ones that still always get those fans back. Thank you very much, Chris.
No worries,
well,
mate.
everyone does. Everyone watches the Rumble once a year, and then they flake off after WrestleMania. They go, what's going to happen, and then the ratings drop with it. So thank you very much for coming on. Thank you
take
for
it easy, guys.
invading. Thank you very much. Take care,
yeah,
and we'll see you next week. Don't forget Big Fight Weekly. Give a shout out to Stu just in case, Chris, because I know he'll get angry if we don't say anything. Give him a plug.
Yeah, me and Stu will be back next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for Big Fight Weekly. Lots to talk about. We've got UFC coming up. We've got more boxing to come up. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good one.
Oh, no worries. Take care, buddy. See you later.
Take care.
There you go. Anything can happen on this show. And there you go. I mean, look, you wanted it. We put him on. So there you go. Back with the normality of professional wrestling after that. I hope everybody enjoyed that, by the way. That's very spontaneous of me in many ways to get him on just there. So let's go now with some serious matters here, because we've got an update on why Will Ospreay vacated the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And again, following this, I mean, some big news going on with New Japan in general right now. SP3 not looking too rosy for those performers that come in from abroad. Tell us, because obviously I read your article. I posted it on our Facebook page that you put up. But is there anything more to this now?
Well, basically, we talked about this previously on Powered4SP3 about the whole COVID outbreak within New Japan. We talked last week about Will Ospreay and his neck injury and him having to vacate the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So Voices of Wrestling podcast this week came out with a report in which they said that there was it was basically the neck injury was a cover up for the real reason why New Japan decided to strip Will Ospreay of the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Basically, it came down to his neck injury was no doubt hurt. He also has like shoulder pain and issues with his like nose right now, but it was under the understanding that his injury was similar to the injuries for Kazuchika Okada with his back or Kota Ibushi with his foot, where he just needed a couple of weeks off, a couple of weeks of rest, or like maybe like a multi-man tag team matches, but he didn't need to like take significant time off. So basically, he decided that he wanted to rehabilitate in back home in the UK. There was reports that he was feeling like homesick and he wanted to go back home, and he made the decision to leave, even though New Japan had told their foreign talent to stay in Japan because they just scheduled the Road to Wrestle Grand Slam shows that have recently been going on. And basically the whole situation and the uncertainty of this whole COVID outbreak caused Will Ospreay to make the decision to leave to go to the UK, and New Japan that gave them they had no other choice than to strip him of the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Will Ospreay has since then, put up a post on Twitter with his neck, X-ray of his neck, which shows that he had some damage in his neck that needed to be, needed him to take time off. He also went on the 2-Man Power Trip podcast and basically, put his allegiance out there to New Japan. There was media reports in 2019 that said that he signed a 5-year deal with New Japan. He also put out in his statement that he is definitely, loyal to New Japan. He is with New Japan for the long haul. It was just a situation where his neck was just, accumulated a lot of damage from the great matches that he has put on in 2021 already. This man has 4 Wrestling Observer 5-star or more rated matches already this year, including the 6-star matchup against Shingo Takagi at Wrestling Dontaku Night 2, which was his last match. So he says that his neck was damaged enough that he had to make the decision for his own health to vacate the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, but he has no issues with New Japan currently. Voices of Wrestling podcast also noted that, there was a lot of upset and frustration among the foreign talent because, Switchblade Jay White and David Finlay tested positive for COVID-19 as they were going to go back home, and they were told to stay in quarantine. And instead of New Japan getting them a hotel, they had to stay at the New Japan dojo, which has caused a lot of frustration among the foreign talent. And a couple of the foreign talent, their contract is about to go up in January. And Voices of Wrestling says that there is like suspicion and speculation that there is going to be some type of mass foreign exodus. So it's a very troubling time for New Japan. Not only all of that, they recently, I think it was, I believe yesterday, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion El Desperado also came out and said that he tested positive for COVID-19, that he was among the 9 wrestlers that had tested positive. So this is such big stars because Kazuchika Okada has come out and said that he tested positive for COVID-19. Taichi, then you got Switchblade and David Finlay. These are like some of the top stars. Finlay was an Impact World Tag Team Champion. Jay White is the current Never Openweight Champion. Kazuchika Okada was the #1 contender for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And a lot of these shows that they're putting on right now, there's just a level of uncertainty of like what's going on with the IWGP title, because it feels like they're just buying some time until Okada is ready to come back, because you would think that he would be involved in whatever they're going to do to determine the new champion. So this is probably the most, dissension and controversy and frustration that I've heard from New Japan in quite some time. And they just have had a very bad last, I would say 16, 18 months since this whole global pandemic started. New Japan has just been such in flux. And right now it's just probably the most troubling time for the whole promotion.
It sounds very serious. And to be honest with you, to back up some of that stuff, I was watching a report earlier, nothing to do with wrestling, but about the Olympics, and they're trying to keep face with that. They're trying to sort of like mask that it's still going to happen when, all these leading doctors there are like, the symbol that represents is that we're past COVID. It ain't going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen, but they're still keeping face. It will, But I mean, how on earth it can? I think it's their fourth wave of COVID as well. So pretty serious, really. What's going on there? And you can only imagine what it's like for some of those guys, you know, if everything's sort of been masked in that way. But we'll see what happens. Could be pretty damaging for New Japan in terms of the product if they do lose that mass exit like all at once, because, you know, with contracts and goodness knows what else. Quick question here from Carnage Payne. How you doing? I heard Double J. Joe, I haven't heard Jeff Jarrett's name as much as I have in the last couple of weeks since he started his new podcast with Conrad Thompson. Heard him talk about a tour in Australia where Jerry Lawler and JB, who's JB, did, what is that, Coma shows. I don't know what that is.
Commentary?
Is that commentary? I don't know.
JBL,
House
maybe?
shows.
JBL? I don't know.
Yeah. For the crowd, they wanted to give fans same experience as TV. Do you think WWE should do this? Well, that's an interesting one. Do you know what? It's one of the weirdest things when I first went to my first WWE show, and I'm not talking about SummerSlam because I was too young to really understand. But as I got older and you watch Raw and then you go to a show, it's like once the matches start happening, SP3, the biggest shift in change is you don't hear the commentators. Like you're there as one as the live crowd, but you don't kind of. Sometimes I remember, I think at the SummerSlam you and I were at, where we saw Taker and Brock at the end, SP3. I had no freaking clue what on earth had just taken place. And it was one of those things you had to be watching it on telly and hear the commentators to understand what on earth had happened. Because so many fans that night were like, what? What's just happened? You know, just couldn't get it. But it is weird. But then again, I don't know. Do you want to hear commentators when you go to a live show, SP3?
No, I've never been of that thinking. I think that it would be like something that they would probably give out as a premium, like give you like headphones to listen to the audio, but you have to like pay for them.
That could happen. That
could definitely happen, but I necessarily don't need that. I myself usually will do commentary. If my friends really need commentary, I'll do the commentary for you. I love doing.
You got bookers sitting behind you when you go to these shows. You don't need commentators.
Exactly. So I do the commentary for my friends. Like, oh, this is a Pier 6 brawl. It's a whole slobber knocker, and then I do that with shades of the Great Land Storm, like all that great commentary talk. I could do it from my seat. I don't need the commentators in my ear. And plus, WWE commentators on a whole are not good, so I don't want to hear them when I go to WWE.
I was going to say it's not Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler we're talking about here. That's for sure. You don't want to. I can imagine them. They do headphones, and it's not commentary. It's when to applaud, when to boo, when to stand up, and when to go home. That's the only ones they'll give out, I tell you. But no, I think personally, going to a live show, that experience should be around the crowd, the atmosphere, not hearing the. You can go home and listen to the commentators. Do you know what I mean? That's part of going home and watching it back. So no, I kind of don't agree there. Quickly, Rachel Cornell, big fan of the show. My favorite show now. Thank you. The two that make me smile even on a rotten day. How are you both? I am very, very well, Rachel. I hope you're well as well. She's always tuning into our stuff, SP3, and I know she's a big fan of True Heel Heat because she tells me as well. So yeah, she's awesome. She's always there. Awesome.
She's even started to shout out my wife, so she's even a fan of my family. So I gotta be a fan of Rachel back.
There you go. Oh, there you go. You've heard it all there. And just going down in the comments, Rachel saying WWE is hard to watch. Yes, I agree sometimes with the amount of it. I tell you. What's this? You always get questions like this from Mark. Do you like AEW or WWE? You know what, Mark? I like both. I'm just going to give you that answer. SP3, do you like one more than the other?
I like both. But yeah, I like AEW more because I don't feel like they insult my intelligence as much as WWE does. If you were asking me, do you like NXT or AEW more? Probably the answer would be a little bit closer. But WWE as a whole, yeah, I prefer AEW more.
Oh, there you go. You got a question. And finally, Rachel, are you and wife still doing Catfish show? I'm Guessing that is for you, SP3. I've not spoken about a catfish show.
We watch Catfish, and we've even dabbled into where you guys are from, and we started watching Catfish UK, which is just as interesting with Julie and Uba. It's quite interesting stuff, and it might be coming. I've been brainstorming a bunch of ideas. True Hill Heat is now monetized our YouTube channel, so I've been thinking of different ideas for a second YouTube channel of sorts, maybe one on sports, one on TV and movies. So be on the lookout, Rachel. I'll keep you updated for sure.
Rachel, I think this is a reply to Chris, but imagine MMA doing 7 hours a week of TV. Yeah, I think that's where we sit. And Chris, I'd love that. Well, really, you wouldn't, Chris. Trust me. 7 hours a week. There's no way you'd love it, mate. You can't watch Raw like that, I tell you. There's no way. Just stick to the pay-per-views. Do what New Japan Pro Wrestling do. I'm telling you, it's a formula for disaster. The amount of television we have to cover being a wrestling fan. You'd think it would be awesome, but it's just tiring even thinking about the amount you have to get through. Especially what we do on here, I have to say. Now, just quickly, heat on John Cena. Now, I saw this, and I've also seen CM Punk change his Twitter account to acknowledge this in his own charming way. But heat on John Cena here, SP3. Give us the lowdown for those people that haven't heard. I'm sure most people have, but for those that haven't, exactly what happened with a little bit of a mistake here by John Cena, to say the least. I know the funny thing is he's been training out there for such a long time. But there you go. What happened here, SP3?
But yes, John Cena was trending on Twitter for apologizing for fans in China. The reason he's been basically a hotbed for controversy in the last couple of days is because there was a clip originally posted on the Chinese microblogging website Sina Weiban, that's Sina, not Cena like Cena, made its way stateside, quickly turned into a whole basically controversy and went viral. The clip features Cena apologizing to fans in China after referring to Taiwan as a country during a recent promotional interview for the new movie Fast 9, the Fast Saga. The South China Morning Post reports that Cena made the comment during a recent appearance on the TVBS network during his promotional tour for the film. During the broadcast, Cena reportedly said that Taiwan was the first country to watch the Fast 9 film. Cena's comments were controversial in China, of course, as the island of Taiwan has been governed independently from the mainland China since 1949. The Chinese government views Taiwan as a renegade province. It has vowed to eventually unify again with the mainland People's Republic of China. Currently, Taiwan has its own democratically elected government. However, China does not view Taiwan as an independent sovereign country. In the video, Cena speaks in Mandarin and apologizes multiple times for his mistake. This is the English translation of what Cena said, and I quote, he says, "Hi China, I'm John Cena. I'm in the middle of Fast and Furious 9 promotion."
Sorry, I just can't get over how he started that. "Hi China, I'm John Cena."
He says, "I'm doing a lot of interviews. I've made a mistake in one of my interviews. Everyone was asking me if I could use Chinese. Movie staff gave me a lot of information. So there was a lot of interviews and information. I made one mistake. I have to say something very, very important now. I love and respect China and the Chinese people. I'm very, very sorry about my mistake. I apologize. I'm very sorry. You must understand that I really, really love, really respect China and the Chinese people. My apologies. See ya." And basically, this whole clip, you're making me die.
Oh my goodness.
This got him a lot of controversy. China is a major market for the Fast and Furious franchise. After opening in the country on May 21st, Fast
It'll
9
be blurred out now.
Probably so. Fast 9 has already grossed $137 million in China alone, according to the box office Mojo. Cena's video on Weibo reportedly garnered more than 5,000 comments, with some accepting his apology and other users commenting that Cena should say that Taiwan is part of China. Now that the video is being shared on Twitter, it's still a major trending topic, even of today, and Cena is receiving a great deal of backlash for his comment of contrition. And then also it was noted by Andrew Zarian of the Madman podcast, a part of Figure 4 online website. He said that Cena's video and apology is not going over well in WWE. So this comes off the heels of a recent report in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that said that John Cena was on his way back. His filming for the Peacemaker role in the Suicide Squad sequel is done on July 9th. So the rumor in the Wrestling Observer newsletter was saying that Cena may appear as early as the return of fans for live events on June 16th SmackDown, ahead of Money in the Bank on July 16th SmackDown in Texas, ahead of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view on July 18th. But this apology and video may keep WWE from keeping him off of TV a little bit longer. Who knows? I don't know, but Cena got a lot of heat. His name was trending on Twitter, as well as other things referring to John Cena, like hashtag John Cena is a coward and hashtag John China was trending on Twitter as even of this morning. And CM Punk, like you said earlier, actually changed his Twitter bio to say Taiwan is a country, going back on what Cena had to say in his apology.
That's, very political there from John Cena. What a mistake on his part. I'm sure he's regretting that now. A couple of the comments here. Honest, be unreasonable. Haha, that's class. He's referring to John Cena's response. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm sure he had people around him sort of saying, this is what you need to do. And, that's not always the right thing. And finally, thing is, Taiwan isn't China to the rest of the world. Now, getting very political here on the show, SP3, to end this. And, it's a fair point, but yeah, it's one of those things, everyone has interests and business relations, and they're all connected with whether it's the film industry, the wrestling industry, and these are things that there's protocols in place, like don't say this, don't say that, don't even comment and go there. So it's just one of those things. I'm sure John Cena did not deliberately go out of his way to refer and say that, you know what I mean? I don't think he would have wanted this drama. I got to be honest with you, to be honest. But thank you as always, SP3. We're coming up on the end of an hour. It's been a very fast hour. We flowed through this. We were going to get to AEW previews, but I know you'll be doing that probably again on perhaps Alex McCarthy tonight or down the line as well, SP3. So for those of you that want those predictions, you can always tune in. And SP3, you said to me before we started this show, you've got an even busier week than normal. So where are we going to find you this week on YouTube and goodness knows where else?
So like you said, I'll be with Alex McCarthy at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. BST for you folks in the UK on the Wrestling Daily YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about all the latest wrestling news. And we got a great debate where we're going to debate who had the greatest rookie year in WWE history. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a tough debate between the Daily Boys, and we're going to respond to the ill words that Pete Cornell had to say on the NXT Wrestle Talk podcast earlier today, calling out the Daily Boys. We're going to address los intangibles of Wrestle Talk. We'll address them on Wrestling Daily, and then tomorrow on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. BST. If you want my predictions, my preview for AEW Double or Nothing, I'm going to be with Miss AEW, Miss Dynamite herself, Stephanie Chase. We're going to be previewing the entire card for Double or Nothing on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. So about like 45 minutes to an hour where we run down the card. We tell you the stories that led up to all the matches, and we're going to give our predictions. Stephanie Chase is the lead the lead person in all of wrestling media when it comes to All Elite Wrestling. So I am very much looking forward to having fun talking about Double or Nothing with Stephanie Chase tomorrow on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. And then Friday, True Hill Heat YouTube channel, our Dark Side of the Ring Ultimate Warrior review. It's going to be very interesting. This Dark Side of the Ring episode has a comment from the Ultimate Warrior's first wife, talking about his rise through the WWF. It's got stories from Jake the Snake Roberts. So, and we're going to compare and contrast Dark Side of the Ring and A&E biographies coverage of the Ultimate Warrior's life and career. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be myself, Romeo, and Miss Chrissy Love breaking down the Dark Side of the Ring episode. And that's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. BST on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. And then Friday, I'm going to be on the post show for SmackDown, following SmackDown. It's called Smack Talk on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel with Rick Ucchino and the wrestling legend himself, Dutch Mantel. I make my return. We're going to talk about everything that went down on SmackDown. And then Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. BST, True Hill Heat YouTube channel, True Hill Heat 127. A big Double or Nothing party. Myself, Top Guy JJ, and Miss Chrissy Love. We're going to be joined by Stephanie Chase on True Hill Heat once again, as well as Richard Benson of Post Wrestling and the Grabble App podcast. It's going to be huge. We're going to preview Double or Nothing. We're going to be talking about all the latest news, maybe some more about the heat on John Cena for being an enemy of China. We're going to talk about all that great stuff, as well as the WWE releases and all the great wrestling news. And then Sunday night, True Hill Heat YouTube channel, following Double or Nothing, we have our Double or Nothing roundtable review. I got to see if my daddy duties end so I can join that. But if not, Jimmy Macaram and Marcus Cash of the AE Recap are going to be on there, as well as Romeo. Chris G is going to be a jam-packed roundtable talking about Double or Nothing. So Double or Nothing week is jam-packed. Also Friday, Nothing. On Monday, I'm going to be on Steph Chase's YouTube channel reviewing Double or Nothing. So plenty of content from myself and the True Hill Heat gang.
Certainly not going to you're not going to miss SP3 this week because he is everywhere. So check that out. SP3, you need like a diary of some sort to keep all this up, my friend. I'm telling you, you
Rachel,
really do.
Rachel says I need a personal assistant. My wife
Good idea.
My wife keeps everything, scheduled for me, so I know. But yeah, I probably do need a personal assistant to give me the rundown of everything.
I'm a typical bloke. I just, everyone says you should have a schedule and all the rest of it, and I'm like, nah, it's all up here. But of course, I still forget. Always forget, but I'm just that way. It's been fantastic having you on as always, SP3. Just before we go, got a few announcements for Powered4.tv. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to be joined by Straight Talk Wrestling. The man, George Mackay, is going to be on with me. We're going to be talking loads of wrestling. He's from up in Canada. We're going to be talking about his show, as well as Canadian wrestlers in general and why they don't get as much representation these days, which is a very interesting chat. It's almost shifted from Canada to the UK within the last decade, which has kind of been a very interesting take. And also brand new promotion that will be joining us in October. Triumph Wrestling are coming to Powered4.tv. Really excited to have those guys over. And a guy we were talking about that SP3 mentioned a little bit of, Will Ospreay. Yes, he's shown up a few times at this show. It's very close to home. And I won't say any more than that, but we're very, very happy to have them on board with us. And in fact, they announced their main event that is going to take place, the Reboot show, which is coming from October the 16th. And some great competitors. We'll have more of that as we go along. And not only that, SP3, we've got another promotion that's just joined us as well, would you believe it, called This Is Wrestling. And I'm going to play their promo video on the way out, on the go home part of this show. So don't forget, guys, go over to True Hill Heat now. If you haven't already, like, subscribe to True Heel Heat, of course. Like, there's so many people that watch the shows, but they always forget to subscribe. Like, please do. And, you know, if anything, just share it out there. Really, really appreciate everybody that's put in the comments. Like, always fantastic to hear from you guys, even if it's the most bizarre, obscure questions. It's always good. It always tests my mind. SP3, before you go, I was thinking when you said about you and Alex McCarthy's debate, you know what? I'll throw one name in the hat. Brock Lesnar for me. Brock Lesnar's first year, very difficult. I would say to get a better rookie year than Brock. I bet you he goes with Kurt Angle. That's a very.
Think so?
I think he'll go with Kurt Angle.
I think
that's a very typical.
I think fans of True Heel Heat already know who I'm gonna go with, because right. I'll probably get in trouble with my wife for the person that I go with. But we'll see. I'll see you guys at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. PST, and hopefully I don't sleep on the couch tonight.
There you go. We will be with you, SP3. So yeah, thank you from us. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to check out everything else on powered4.tv and everywhere that SP3 is this week. We'll see you next week, guys.